Welcome, and it's great to be here. It's a lovely sunny day where I am, and it's nice to be with everyone. Um, Please do say hi in the chat if you'd like to. You're perfectly at liberty to stay anonymous if you wish, but it's always nice to know who's on the stream and where you are. What you do in the world of project management, or maybe you're not in the world of project management and you're just interested, and what it is you want to know. Particularly, what do you want to know about making more, earning more money than you are through project management, whether that be through promotions, changes in the job that you do within project management, or a side gig, or becoming an influencer. So tell us what interests you, and ask some questions, because whilst I've got some material prepared, this I think is a topic that's particularly well suited to sharing answers to your questions and perhaps answering each other's questions. So let's see what we've got in the chat. Oh, we've got some regulars. We've got, first of all, we've got Fernando from Honduras. So welcome, Fernando. I don't recognize your name. So it's good to have you. So Honduras, Central America, we're going to count that as two whole continents, North and South America. I'm not sure. Then we've got Charles from Zambia. So that's Africa. So that's at least two continents. Project coordinator. Lovely. So project coordinator for some people is an entry point into a PMO based role. For others, it's into a project management role. For others, it's a career in itself. So be interested to know how you view that. We've got Nicola from Canada. Good to see you, Nicola. Haven't been on this stream for a couple of months, so it's good to hear from you. Be interested to catch up, find out what's going on. Oh my goodness me, it's Joseph Garfield. So from the United States, and Joseph, I think we've got an interview with Joseph about, what was the topic we covered? Scoping, I think, on the channel. So it's really good to hear from Joseph. Then we've got Hamburg Gumbo. Hamburg Gumbo has been a regular attender, so it's good to hear from you. So that's not so sunny Hampstead. So Hampstead in London in the UK. So we'll count that as Europe, because certainly in geographical terms, if not necessarily geopolitical terms, that's definitely Europe. Then we've got a name I can't read. I'm gonna go with Alexander, project manager for Thailand. So that's Asia. So what have we got? We've got North America. If we count Honduras as South America, that's two continents. We've got Africa, Europe, and Asia. That's 5 continents. Love that. Amber Gumbo is a quality analyst, and so that's great. Yes, and Joseph's confirming project scoping, project discovery. Yeah, it has been a long time, so I'd be keen to catch up with you as well. So both Nicola and Joseph, haven't heard from you for a long time, so do drop me a line. I'll try to kind of make a mental note. I'll probably write something down, but this notebook isn't one that this isn't my day book, so it's a good chance it'll get lost. We must catch up sometime over the summer. So we've got about 20 people on the stream at the moment, so that's great. So what's been going on? Well, it's been a kind of quietish month for me. I've been on holiday, so although there hasn't been a noticeable break, I hope, in service with publications, that's all been lined up in advance. So just getting back into it. Yesterday was my first day back, catching up. I've got a great video came out today on the channel. That was an interview with Dr. Karen Thompson, who is one of the co-founders of Responsible Project Management. And Responsible Project Management takes us in a direction partly towards what we might call green project management, but in a wider sense, better governance. And if we think about the series of videos, the course that's running on my other YouTube channel, Management Courses, which runs weekly contributions that build up into complete free courses in management topics. One of the 2 courses that's rolling out, I think it's the one that's rolling out on Thursdays, is CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility. And so responsible project management plays into the CSR agenda very nicely, and I think it wouldn't be wrong, I think, to think of responsible project management as adopting some of the ideas of John Elkington's triple bottom line of economy, environment, and community. So that's a really nice video to watch and to engage with. And on the responsible project management website, let me just call it up on the browser so I can show it to you. There we are. Responsible project management website, which is responsiblepm.com. I'll just type that into the I'll just copy the URL. So responsibleprojectmanagement.com got some interesting stuff on there. They're working not only on responsible project management, but a principles-based approach to training, which I find fascinating. But deep in there, let me see if I can grab that, and if we go to About Us, one of the things that they have is a manifesto for responsible project management, and they encourage people to sign that manifesto. And so what is responsible project management all about? It's about purpose, it's about awareness, engagement, curiosity, uncertainty, anticipation, creativity, transparency, stewardship, and balance. Those are the 10 elements of responsible project management. So that's a really interesting topic. So I do encourage you to go have a look at that video. In fact, I should be. Whoops. I should be able to find that video in just a moment for you. So let's find that. Here we go.
Karen, welcome. Thank you, Mike. Lovely to see you. So
it's decided to play now. So let's grab that link. Come on, see. So after this video, if you want to go straight onto after this live stream, if you want to straight onto the video, this is a great one to have a look at. Anyway, that's that, and this is going to be a busy week for me because today I've spent preparing for this live stream. Tomorrow I'm spending preparing to go to the Association for Project Management conference, which is in Birmingham in the UK. The Association for Project Management is a big UK-based project management organisation, particularly strong, I would say, in research and publications. I think they punch way above their weight. If you compare them in size to the Project Management Institute in the US, I guess they're probably about a tenth the size in terms of membership. That would be my guess. They don't claim to be global, although they do serve some project managers around the world with, I think, at least 1 or 2 chapters outside of the UK, but they produce probably almost as much printed content in terms of publications, or more publications, and it's almost as many reports and white papers and documents that you can download for free as PMI. And I have to say, I think the average quality of their content is way higher than the PMI's reports. Some of you will probably be aware I've been quite critical of some of the PMI's reports, some of the analysis that goes into them. One of the nice things about APM is they often commission highly experienced academics to lead their research efforts. So I'll be particularly interested at the conference to find out what their Future Lives and Landscapes campaign is all about, and the research that sits alongside that. And they've given me the opportunity to interview some of the speakers that will be at the conference for this channel, and also to interview one of their experts on the Future Lives and Landscapes initiative. So I'll be producing content, don't know yet what, about that. And last year, if you remember, I did an emergency, short notice, additional live stream shortly after I attended their conference, because I was just so excited by the ideas that I learned there. That live stream is on the channel. You can go back and have a look at it. And there was some really fantastic stuff there. And that's where I first met Carol Osterweil, with whom I did a long interview for the channel as well. So it was great. And so I'm hoping that we'll get at least as much good content out of this, but possibly more, because I'm going prepared. I'm taking a camera with me. And I've got interviews arranged with the two keynote speakers, the opening keynote speaker and the closing keynote speaker. So that's really exciting. And as I say, and someone from APM itself to talk about their Future Lives and Landscapes campaign. So I'll be bringing whatever of that I can to you that I think is really good content. And as you know, I collaborated with APM on a little video a couple of weeks ago about project management careers, where I asked the question, is project management a good career? And I cited some of the statistics from their recent salary survey. So let me paste a couple of links into the chat. So this first link, come on mouse, behave yourself. So this first link is the is PM a good career video, and then that partly in answering that, I looked at the research they'd done this year in their regular survey. It's let me just grab the link to their survey. So their 2022 salary and market trends survey not only gave us great salary data, but what else it gave us was some really fantastic quotes from project managers about where they see the profession, and I quoted some of those. I didn't quote everything that's in there. It's a huge report. It's freely downloadable from the link. I called it APM Salary. I meant to put APM Salary Report. You can download it from the link. It's well worth reading, even if you're not in the UK, just to see what UK project managers think of the profession and the career. So I didn't want to kind of step all over it and reproduce all of it, but I give some real headlines. So I think it's one of the best videos I've done lately in terms of the quality of the video. Obviously, it links very closely to this live stream, which so I'll kind of refer to that. So it kind of fits in quite nicely. So that's where we are. And if you happen to be in the UK and you happen to be going to the APM conference on Thursday, let me know. We'll meet up and I'll buy you a coffee from the free coffee bar. So, I mean, I know there are lots of people on the call who haven't said hello in the chat. Please do if you'd like to. It's just nice to know who we've got. But other than that, I think we'll move on. But what I will do is remind you that I love answering your questions. I feel myself to be at my best when you challenge me with difficult questions that make me think. So please do ask whatever questions you've got, either now or at any point in the presentation. And I will periodically glance at the chat and see what's coming through. Give the best answer I can to any questions. And so always keen to hear what you've got to say. And also, if you've got any comments, if you've got any thoughts about what I'm saying, any ideas. So let me swap over to my presentation. Look, new innovation. We've got this kind of little frame around me here. I have actually constructed the slides so that I won't get in the way for any of the content. So let's see if I've actually got that right. So Let's see what we're going to have a look at. So our agenda today, you know the agenda because you signed up for the live stream. So this is all in the description to the live stream and all the promotional material. We'll starting out right, and I've kind of split that into my insights into how do you get the job, how do you get that first kind of career move, how do you enter the career, enter the profession, how do you get that first job, and then also how do you set yourself up at the beginning, at the start of having that job. Then at some point you want a promotion, and I could be getting a big promotion. It doesn't have to be a big promotion, but I've kind of thought about what experience I've got of being promoted as a project manager. So for those of you who don't know, I started out as a management consultant in a small consultancy, wanting to be a project manager, and my boss telling me I couldn't because there was no training course and he had no budget to send me on one. So when my small consultancy firm was bought out by a bigger consultancy firm, I was actually headhunted or poached internally by the project management team because I'd worked with one of their members and they thought I'd be a good asset to the team. And I said, well, I don't know any project management. I said, don't worry, we run a course. So that was fantastic. But it's that actual experience of not having a project management course that made me want to set up online PM courses and create the ability for people like you who may or may not be able to access project management training, to buy project management training for yourself in your own time and study it in your own time. Anyway, I got the training and went on later whilst at Deloitte to deliver that course and also to co-develop some of the courses that followed it, the more advanced courses in program management. So yeah, and I got, I started off, I guess, as a junior consultant, then a consultant, and that's when I transferred into the new firm. That's what I was, and I became a senior consultant, then a manager, and a senior manager. So I got a number of promotions under my belt. I've noticed a couple of items coming in the chat, so let's just have a quick look at that. Let's just flick back while we do that. So Charles says, Mike, how do you manage a situation where the community is hostile or even violent when you try to carry out the work you are hired to do? Wow. That's a very interesting question. Well, first of all, hand on heart, never had to deal with violence in the workplace. Perhaps some emotional violence in the sense of some not very sensitive people, mostly actually within my firm rather than within my clients. There has been hostility to projects, certainly, but not to the extent of violence, more passive aggression. So I shall give some thought to that, but first I'll just have a look. We've got Elevate Drone Solutions from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Capital Projects Manager and Drone Program Manager for County Government. Great work. Thank you, Elevate Drone Solutions. So I guess Capital Projects Manager and Drone Project Manager for County. Okay, so you do both jobs for the same organisation. So drones isn't a side gig. It's actually part of your main job. That's interesting. So right, what am I going to say about to a community that's hostile or even violent? I don't know how to deal with violence. I do Aikido every Tuesday night, so for reasons I'm not going tonight, but normally I would be going to Aikido straight after this. So we do learn to deal with violence, but never had to apply that in the workplace, and not sure how I would. So I can't really answer the question how to deal with violence, except to say that as with all conflict, first thing is to spot it before it becomes violence and try to de-escalate at the earliest possibility to head off violence. Second, if you do get violence, what I think every credible martial arts teacher will tell you is that your job as a martial artist is to avoid violence and have it as last resort. And I love, when I first started doing Aikido, a friend of mine was doing judo. I was still studying for my PhD at the time, and our professor asked him, if several years of judo had made him better at dealing with violence. And he said something I thought very, very clever. He said, look, I practice judo, 3-4 times a week. I'm very fit. If someone tries to attack me, I bet I can outrun them. And so, unless you are a professionally trained, unless you're professionally trained to deal with violence, you shouldn't really be having to deal with it. And your first, second, and third option should be to remove yourself from it. But if you do face violence and you cannot calm it down, I'm not the person to advise you. If you come on the mat, I can teach you some basic Aikido, but that's more about studying Aikido, less about dealing with real world violence, I have to say. But let's take the hostile to an emotionally hostile, psychologically hostile, verbally hostile audience. I think that kind of resistance is very common on projects. What I think is that most people need a damn good listening to. They need you to sit down and listen hard to them. And a lot of people's frustrations, and that can turn to violence, arise not because of what you're doing, but because they don't feel they're heard. They don't feel their concerns about what you're doing are being listened to. And people are realists. They know the facts. They know the way the world works, and they know that often there is nothing that can be done to make a major change to the direction that an organisation is going in. However, they do want to feel that their frustrations are being respected and listened to. You do want to feel that people care, even if they can't do anything. They don't want to feel lied to. They don't want to feel patronised. Don't worry, it will all be all right is the worst thing you can say if you know it will not be all right for them. What you should be doing is saying, yes, I understand, and these are the implications for you, and this is what we can and what we cannot do to ameliorate the situation. The other thing is that, of course, sometimes people will say, you don't want to be doing that's completely wrong, and your temptation is to say, no, we've looked at it, it's going to be right. But the fact is that sometimes people are aware of things that you're not aware of. It's like lemmings. If you're the lemming at the back of the pack and you've got a map and you can see that the rest of the lemmings are running towards a cliff edge, and you're shouting out, hey, stop, this is stupid. If the leader at the front doesn't listen to you, then that leader is at fault and to blame if that leader leads the pack off the cliff. So if you are a leader, listen to the people who object. Take them seriously, give them the time, listen respectfully, because firstly, you may learn something to your advantage if you are prepared to evaluate what they're saying carefully and on its merits. Secondly, the act of listening to people respectfully and replying honestly will often diffuse a lot of resistance, a lot of aggression, a lot of frustration and anger and bitterness. So what I have is, again, not designed to deal with hostility that really is heading in the direction of violence or has reached violence, but on my website I have a number of courses, and one of them is conflict management for project managers. I think is it under the leadership and management section? Let me just have a little look. Or is it under personal effectiveness? Dealing with conflict in projects. There we go. So I'm going to grab a link again. And so this course is called Dealing with Conflicts in Projects. I'll just put conflicts in projects. Which you can have a look at. Let me just show you what that looks like. So this course has Oh, my mouse is misbehaving. Every time we do one of these courses, my mouse misbehaves. So it's got it's a video course, so it's the style you get from my YouTube videos. It's got some tools alongside it, one-to-one support, in the sense that if you sign up for the course, underneath each lecture is an opportunity to ask questions about that lecture specifically, or things that stream from that lecture. And I will answer them almost always within 24 hours. It talks about sources of conflict, how to listen, effect of personalities, ways people resist, signs and stages of conflict, steps for de-escalating, strategies for resolving conflict, 5 ways to handle conflict based on the Thomas Kilmann model, and how to recover a broken workplace relationship. I put workplace in brackets because it does work for other types of relationship, although I'm not sure it certainly isn't designed for emotional relationships, but it's a technique that I've used a couple of times. It really does work. There's conflict log and all sorts of other stuff, so do take a look at that, and that's $47. So that's available to you if you're interested. What else would I say? There's a couple of videos on conflict on the channel as well. So do use the search bar in the in this YouTube channel, on my channel page, search for conflict, and you'll find some videos around conflict on the channel as well. So I hope that was helpful. If you have a follow-up question, Charles, or anyone else has a follow-up from that, or some thoughts to throw into the mix, perhaps ideas for Charles, then please do use the chat, because it's the best thing about live streams is the kind of community bit. Yeah, I always find it interesting, you know, within 24 hours I've usually got 200-300 views on this, even though typically we only get between 10 and 30 people able to attend live. And I know this is very early for and during the early for the west coast of the States. It's during a working day for most of the US and Canada and South America, and it's late for Asia, late at night for Asia, so it's tricky to find a time that can suit people. Anyway, let's go back to where we are. We're going to talk about getting a promotion, and then we're going to talk about building a business. So that's the next way to make money, is to set up a way of earning money outside of your paid employment, a side gig, a side hustle. And many project managers do this, and you know, a lot of the kind of, if you like, project management personalities that you're aware of on the web, people like Stuart Taylor, the influential PMO, people like Bill Dowd, you know, who's the PMO, another PMO expert, people like Adriana Girdler, who else am I thinking of? Andreana Marshall rather. These are people who are working project managers who have other sources of income through the internet, selling courses and products and books and stuff. So lots and lots, and you know, not sure, Joseph, whether you're still active on social media and promoting your own courses and stuff, but Joseph Garfield has done that as well. So lots of people do this. So we'll look at how you build a business, and I built 3 businesses from scratch, so I've got a bit of form on that. And then lastly, becoming an influencer. How do you take that and become an influencer? And by influencer, I don't necessarily mean someone who's going to be, you know, marketing any consumer products to millions of people, but I've got 4 sponsored videos on my channel, all of which I was paid a contribution to mention the brand. So that makes me technically an influencer. I'm going to the APM conference on Thursday as their guest, and able to interview people because they want me to put content that refers to their conference on my channel. And so that's a privilege, and it takes work to get there. I'm an influencer in a sense. I think that there are people like you who like listening to my thoughts about project management, and so I'm going to talk about what that means as a side gig and how you can earn money from that. So, Charles has responded, so I'm just going to check in case they need to follow up. Charles says, thanks, I appreciate the answer. For us out here, sometimes things tend to boil over, so one has to be ready for anything. When the community is not happy with you, one can even be lynched. Well, remind me where you are, Charles, from Zambia. My goodness me. That's... I mean, when people say things get bad in the UK at work, not to belittle it, but for most people, it's abusive language, which is bad, and it's microaggressions and things like that. Yeah, there is abuse, but getting lynched, that's... I am at a complete loss, Charles, to be able to advise you on that stuff. And I'm not so naive to think that that doesn't happen around the world, but it just wouldn't have really crossed my mind that someone who might come on my call as a professional working in a profession where we deliver things that are to the benefit of our societies in the modern world today. And I don't think of Zambia as a particularly dangerous country. I don't know the politics of Zambia, but it's never kind of crossed my radar as the sort of place where I wouldn't visit if I were invited. Well, Charles, stay safe, and I guess travel with a trusted colleague wherever you go into those situations. Anyway, let's move on, because that's just slightly depressing me, really. Getting that first job. I mean, I have an article, and I think I probably got a video which I don't reference later on about how to get your first project management job. So I'm not going to repeat the content of that article. I'm not going to repeat the content of that video, although there will be some overlaps. I've really started thinking about 7 key points that I want to make, and the first one is to think about what is the right role for you. Now, we're not talking about making a decision about your entire life at the outset, but think about where you kind of currently want to go and what is the right role to get you started. And that might be a high level ambition that you want to start strong, and you've got the confidence that you can do that. More realistic, I've just realized that my image is sitting under the subscribe logo. Nobody's pointed this out. Under the subscribe logo on the channel, and I guess it depends how big that you're displaying this as to how intrusive that subscribe logo is going to be. My apologies if I'm completely covered up. I need to check that more carefully. Anyway, research what the right role is for you, and I think the other thing I'd say about that is that there are many ways to enter the profession. There are many types of... you don't see the subscribe logo, says Joseph. Phew, that's really good. On my monitor, which admittedly is in the YouTube Studio application, I can't see my face underneath it. I've just glanced across. So thank you for letting me know, Joseph. That's great. You know what, Joseph, you're a friend to the channel. So I'm going to make you a moderator, which gives you really 2 privileges only. One is that you can post links in the chat, which ordinary people can't. Add as moderator, there we go. So you can review and remove chat messages, and you can so if there's abusive messages and stuff like that. So that's great. Elevate Drone Solutions. Where do you think AI, or more specifically ChatGPT, is going to take project management in the future? I'll talk about that in a minute. Elevate Drone Solutions. As you know, this is the year of, or as I hope you know, this is the year of artificial intelligence in project management on the channel. I've got a lot of content about project management and artificial intelligence, and more to come. I've made at least a couple of videos that haven't yet been released. So yeah, it's a big topic. So I'll come back to that in a moment. So research the right role for you. Think about what your future, the first stage in your career is. Perhaps think about where you want to end up, and then find that first right role. Then the next thing you need to do is to build an online presence, I would say. This is not about becoming an influencer. It's about building a presence so that when you apply for jobs, and as they inevitably will, your recruiters, when they get to a certain stage in the process, will see what your online presence is. Now, there are three possibilities for what they will find. Firstly, they will find nothing. Which could be a no news is good news situation. They can't hold that against you, but it's certainly not going to give you any advantage. Second thing is they could find a bunch of college prank photos, social stuff that puts you in a bad light. That's bad. So you need to curate that stuff and get rid of the stuff you will be embarrassed by. When you move into the world of work. Or thirdly, they will find that you have taken some care, not massively managed everything, but taken some care to build a professional online presence. And the first place they will almost certainly look is LinkedIn, and that is designed for professional online presence. So curate your LinkedIn profile carefully. Use every available field that is relevant to you and your experience and your desire and your intentions, and fill it out carefully. Get a good photo. Get friends and colleagues and relatives, trusted, to take lots and lots of different photos of you and pick carefully the best one. When you've done that, the next thing is to chart your route. To think about, okay, where am I going to be going? What are the first couple of steps I need to take to build that career? And next is package up your skills. Take all the skills you have, all the experience you have, all the knowledge you have, and frame it in a way that makes sense for the jobs you're going to be applying for. Be brutal. There will be lots of stuff you have that is not relevant to those jobs. Don't waste your time telling employers about things that are not relevant to them. If you're going for a job perhaps in engineering, project management, they don't want to know that when you were 15 your next door neighbour taught you how to groom poodles. If your next door neighbour taught you how to groom poodles and to repair the electronic shears when they went wrong, that could be relevant. And then you need to make sure that every application you make, you tailor your application pack. And that means two things. Firstly, it means researching carefully every employer you apply for. Don't just go, oh, they look like a suitable employer, I'll apply to them, and then send them your standard CV and your standard cover letter. No. Research that employer, find out about them, and then find out what their real interests are. Then from your packaged up set of skills, select the ones that are most relevant to them, frame them in the language that matches the potential employer's needs, lead with the ones that are most relevant to them, and tailor everything. Then if you get an interview, rehearse the questions, not just the general questions that you're likely to get, but the questions that that employer is particularly likely to ask you. Again, we've got on the website and on the YouTube channel, there's stuff about interviews, how to deal with interviews, and the STAR methodology for presenting answers. There's also a video, how to answer the question, tell me about yourself, which people hate, but they shouldn't, because tell me about yourself is one question that is highly likely to come up most of your competitors will hate it and will fluff it, but you can prepare well for it and turn it to your advantage. And then, critically, if you do get offered a job, and this is something that I did very well, and I didn't know I was doing it well at the time, but my boss told me I'd done it well after I started work, and I found out 2 years later how well I had done. And that is, my boss made me an offer, and I said, well, before I accept it, I just need to let you know that I have other opportunities, and I'd love to come and work here, but frankly your offer is not as good as some of the other opportunities, so I'm going to be sitting on that offer for a little while, for as long as you allow me to. And my boss said, okay, how about if we add, and in his case it was £2,000 to the offer, which was actually more than anyone else was offering. And I did want to work for them, and I took that. Oh my goodness me, there's a massive bee flown into the room. So if you hear a buzzing, that's what it is. And if you see me looking very nervous, that is huge and scary. I think it's a hornet. So I'm just going to have to hope it doesn't come over here. What was I going to say? So my boss told me that I'd negotiated well, in a kind of respectful manner, but let him know that what he needed to do to secure me. So that was important. 2 years later, I found out that the other person who was hired at the same time as me did not negotiate, and my salary had risen to about £3,000 or £4,000 above his, because the increments on my salary were percentage increments, and the increments on his salary were the same percentage increments, and so I gained twice. So if you're in anything like a strong position, sorry, I'm glancing over at this rather scary. Is that a hornet or is it a gigantic wasp or bee? I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't tell. It's big. Anyway, so that's my tips on getting your first job. I've noticed a couple of things have come in. Nicolas says, he does get the subscribe logo, but it doesn't bother him. Okay, so I need to figure out what's going on there. Elevate Drone Solutions. So, do I think AI, or more specifically ChatGPT, is going to take project management in the future? Right. Firstly, ChatGPT is not going to replace project managers or take on project management or become a project manager. However, it is already a useful tool. Names just dropped out of my head. Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman, interviewed him on the channel a couple of times, had a couple of conversations with him on the channel. Andy Kaufman has actually got a course. He's actually built a course. Haven't evaluated it. I'm just getting in touch with him. But he's built a course on using ChatGPT as a project manager to help you as a project manager. But AI more generally, or perhaps actually I should say more specifically project management oriented AI, is going to not take our jobs but contribute massively to specific elements of it, and may reduce some of the admin functions that early stage project managers need to get involved in, and that some project administrators do. And they can, so I've talked to Lloyd Skinner, and I talked to Stuart Easton on this channel on 2 different videos. Stuart Easton runs a Transparent Choice and talks about AI prediction software that helps with decision making, and the use of it for creating project portfolios that will have a higher likelihood of succeeding. Prediction, decision-making software, prediction software, risk management software will have it built in. So we will see AI get rolled into specific project management software. Most of the big suites like Asana and Jira and Monday and ClickUp are building AI into their tools. Process Street announced today that AI's been rolled into their tool and released. Taskade has released AI functionality into their tool. Most of these are just ChatGPT, using ChatGPT through an API to add it to the tool in specific ways, but we will see more and more great stuff. So that's my answer. But again, Drone Solutions. Can I just call you Drone Solutions? Or Elevate. I'll just call you Elevate. Do feel free to come back with a follow-up. Hambo Gumbo says, I ended up being a QA through being a bookkeeper and sheer accident. Interesting. It's not live on the channel, but I've done an interview with Adriana Marshall, and she's a Scrum Master and a Scrum trainer, and she started her career as a personal assistant. Her boss said, we need you to be doing smarter stuff than that. Let's get you trained in project management. And she became a project manager and is now a Scrum Master. So yeah, just like you, Hambo, many people start somewhere and find that they've got more to offer, or employees understand they've got more to offer as well. Employers understand they've got more to offer, and if you're prepared to seize every advantage you have, and you're prepared to work hard to learn stuff to demonstrate your knowledge and skills and acumen, that's brilliant. Right, let's move on, because the next thing we're going to look at is starting your first job, and there's so much we could say about starting your first job. I've got really 3 tips, and the first one is make yourself useful. From day one, just be prepared to do anything that is appropriate. Be prepared to do anything and make yourself useful, but be that person who volunteers. There will come a time when you can't volunteer for everything because you just don't have time and you're too senior. That's not saying senior people shouldn't be doing the grunt jobs. We should, as I believe. I love the red badge, green badge approach to projects when projects are under a lot of pressure, which is basically if you've got a team, everyone from the most junior person on the team to the most senior person on the team has in their drawer or on their desk 2 badges, a red badge and a green badge. And each morning, the team decides what are the priority jobs that need to get done. And the people who need to contribute to those, who have direct influence over those jobs, get to wear a green badge for the day. And the people who, is it green badge? Let's say it's green badge. And everyone else gets to wear a red badge. And the rule is that if you're a green badge and you need some help, you can ask any red badge and they must do it, because every day we're doing green badge stuff, and today the green badge wearers get to decide what the priorities are. So make yourself useful from day one, and then learn from anyone. Network like crazy. Talk to people, find out what they know. Find yourself mentors early on, people who can advise you, guide you, support you, and then learn fast. Learn how to take feedback. Learn how to deal with problems that you've created or that you encountered. Learn how to fix things. Learn how to change what you do in the light of feedback. And that will help you to make yourself more useful, which means that people will be more willing to share what they know, which means that you can learn faster. So that's, for me, the cycle of success in employment, and that will and just keep doing that, basically, and that will get you a long way towards that next promotion and the big promotion. But the thing you need to learn is the game, how the game is played in your organisation, what the politics are, what the written rules are, and what the unwritten rules are, and critically, become an enterprise of one. This will play very strongly into the kind of solopreneur business that I am, the single entrepreneur, but also the influencer thing. how can you build your reputation? Treat yourself as a business and invest in yourself as you would invest in a business. Develop yourself as you would develop a business. Market yourself as you would market a business. Seize any opportunities. By the way, I forgot to say, when I said you learn how the game is played, middle of my career, I had an appraisal meeting with my appraiser, and it went really well, but I didn't get a promotion, and was very surprised that some people who had been my peers, whom I thought were no better than me, some possibly not as strong as me, did get promotions, and another couple of people who I thought were as good as me and better than some of the people who got promotions didn't get promotions. And at least one of them had the same appraisal as me. So I talked to my appraiser, and he apologised, and he said, "Look, Mike, simple fact is, you are better than many of the people who got promoted. I thought we were working to a higher standard than we clearly were, so I did not push for you to get promotion. And some other appraisers thought their role was to push for people to get promotions, not to give an unbiased view, and I apologise." We were known in the team as 3Ms. Mike, Mark and Martin didn't get our promotions that year. We did the next year. And it's really important. Two things come out of that. Firstly, make sure your appraiser knows how the game is played, so that they can do not the best for you, but at least make their choices knowing what other appraisers are doing. Secondly, if things don't go well for you, then stay cool. Stay cool. Stay calm. Don't do anything rash. Find out the facts. Find out what went on, and then make your decision. And say, Martin, Mark, and myself, we all kind of just got our nose to the wheel. We worked hard. We rolled up our sleeves. We showed that we were above it. Some people around us treated us as if we had that promotion, in terms of their respect for us stayed on a par with their respect for the people who got promoted. So stay cool. Things will happen, as they should. But clearly, if you get opportunities, seize them. Wherever there is an opportunity to show how good you are, to show your capabilities, to demonstrate your willingness, dive in. But I pressed the wrong button there. But above all else, create those opportunities. Look for projects you can create and deliver, of the initiatives you can take, and continually adapt to the new circumstances. And this is where I kind of, in my mind, when I first saw Elevate's question, I thought I'd throw it in. AI is the perfect thing now. If adapt to AI, find ways to use AI in your work today, and innovate and show other people. Learn new stuff. Look for new stuff to learn. Attend seminars, go to conferences, read articles, watch videos, find new stuff, and persevere. Just stick with it. And then, critically, when it is time for an appraisal meeting or whatever, or if you're actually going to go to your boss and say, I'm ready for promotion, make sure you prepare that conversation. Sit with your mentor, your mentors, different people in the organisation, and say, what questions are like to come up? How am I going to what's the best way to build the case? Do you know my boss better than I do? What will convince them? What are their, real hot points? What are the things they need to hear to make a strong case? Hambo says, what small side hustles would you suggest? We'll come on to that in a minute, Hambo. Great advice for any of us, says Joseph. The more value you add, the more value they will eventually give you. Yeah, I mean, what comes around goes around. I'm not saying there isn't unfairness in the world. Of course there is. You need to watch the news. But some of the people who complain, frankly, they expect things to be given to them on a plate. What you give is what you get often. And if you spend your energy on complaining about things not being fair, then you're not going to succeed. So if you come to the conclusion that your workplace or the people around you, senior people around you, are genuinely not fair-minded, then that's your cue that you're in the wrong organisation. I'd advise anyone to capture all their lessons, successes and failures on a document and regularly review it. Yes, Hambo Gumbel, as usual, is spot on. One of the best things we can do is reflect on our experiences. In particular, reflect on what you've learned from your successes as well as your failures, and what you learned from your decisions. How did you make each decision that you made of any substance, and how did it turn out, and what do you learn from that? It's less interesting whether you turned out to be right or wrong as what you learned from that, because did you make the best decision you could have made? Not the right decision, but did you make the best decision you could have made? And what was your process? Joseph's right. It is great advice. So, starting a business. So Hambo asks, what side small hustles would you suggest? Well, there's all sorts of things. The simplest thing you can do is to build a small website and find something to sell. But in order to sell it, you've got to market it, and in order to market it, people have got to believe that this is offers value, and therefore it has to offer value. But simple things like templates, checklists are great ways to start. As you know, I sell both. Articles tend to be usually freely available on the web, so you've got to step up to a small book. I know Joseph has a small book and a tool available. Certainly he used to sell those. I think, or did you just give them away? Maybe you just gave them away to clients. But they, based on your knowledge and your experience, if you take someone like Hambo Gambo, he is a knowledgeable chap. He has lots of good advice, but he has a specialism, which is quality assurance. Now, there are a lot of project managers who don't know much about quality assurance, possibly including me. I mean, I certainly have never been a professional QA. I've been involved in quality at various stages. So that means that with that kind of knowledge, you could possibly frame some tools for project managers around improving your quality assurance work on a project or setting it up. So that could be checklists, it could be a process, it could be a guide, a small PDF guide, it could include templates and stuff like that. So think about what it is that there are other people who don't know it and need to know it, and it's important enough to them that they will pay a small amount for it, and then do that. That can lead on to becoming a speaker, a presenter. You could create small courses. You can do them if you're not skilled as a video editor. You could do them live using either live streams like this, which obviously this isn't paid unless you've got a big enough channel that's monetized. I mean, I think YouTube typically, after about 6 months, I've made about $20, $10 to $20 from one of these live streams in terms of YouTube ad revenue. So it's not a good way to do it, but there are lots of platforms now which allow you to set up seminars. Now, they do require that you learn and devote time to marketing as well as to developing those things. Joseph gave his stuff away and he's put a link. See, I knew it was the right thing to do to make Joseph a mod, because he's now been able to post a link in the chat. So those are things that you can do. What other side gigs? You can possibly set yourself up as either a coach or a mentor, paid coaching, paid mentoring, things that you can do. Consulting as well, advising people or organisations how to do specific things that you're an expert at. That gigantic thing is more active now. It's buzzing around. It's desperate to get out of here. The hole that came in through in the window is about yay big. Oh, you can't see both my hands, but so it's about as wide as my head. So it can't find it to get out. Annoying. Right, so when you start a business, there are a lot of kind of tensions, and the first one is between planning and adapting. And I would say at the start, when you're starting up a business, whether it's a small side hustle or a decent sized business, I think the big thing there is to focus on planning. Think in some detail about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and how you're going to use your time. I am going to just step away for 2 seconds. I think I've got the opportunity to usher this thing to safety, and it's kind of distracting me, so I'm going to do that. Sorry about that. I feel a lot better now. It hasn't gone out, but it's kind of contained. Right. Josie says, thank you. Got to drop off for a 1 p.m. project meeting. Okay, so that's 1 p.m. in west coast of the States, I guess. Right. So, yes, I would say at the start, when you're starting a business, go right over to the planning side. Think about the systems you're going to need and build the first sort of systems that you're going to need. Build a first iteration of them, and you can adapt later on. Think about the products you're going to sell or the service you're going to sell, and develop the basic ideas around it. If it's a product, then you obviously need to do that in real detail and build the product. If it's a service, then it is possible, I would say, to plan it in outline and then adapt to the needs of your first client. Think about the platforms that you're going to use and do the research and plan and build them. So when I built online PM courses, I had to obviously to find a platform to host the videos. I had to design the courses. I had to record the courses. Huge amount of work and planning. When I built Kent Trainers with colleagues, we spent a lot of time thinking about what training courses we would offer and how we would offer them and who would deliver them and how we would market. Huge marketing. I would say probably we started with a budget of, I can't remember what it was. I think it's about £25,000 of loan capital from the partners that went into Kent Trainers, and we spent most of that on marketing at the start. So lots of planning. The other tension is between creating and marketing, and again, that if it's a service-based business, then you probably want to do quite a lot of marketing and a little bit of creating at the beginning. You only need to create enough to be convincing that you can hit the ground running and have enough integrity that you do get a good start. On the other hand, if it's a product, you're going to be spending a lot of time building the product and marketing, so you're kind of splitting your time between the two. Online PM courses, I would say probably at the start, much more of my time was spent creating the products, the initial products, the core courses that I launched with. With Kent Trainers, when we launched that, it was much more about marketing, because we were using we were all experienced trainers with our courses, so marketing was the big thing. When I started my initial training business, I had to create my first training courses, but again, I was doing a lot more marketing because I didn't know which training courses I would need to create until I sold. So basically, I would sell a training course, and then based on a synopsis and the faith that I could develop the whole training course, and then once I'd sold it, I could focus on building it. Then there's saving and investing, and saving is the wrong word, but when my father started his business, which was a shop, he basically did not have a lot of capital. So what he did was he filled the shelves and put products everywhere around the shop, but for most of those products, except for the really small ticket items, he just had one. It was a hardware shop, so he had one of each type of hammer, a couple of each type of screwdriver, one plane, one. So he would have only one of these things. But to fill out the shelves, he asked his suppliers if they had any empty boxes. that he could fill his shelves with. And gradually he built his stock up. So when he sold a plane, he would replace it. But if he sold a hammer, which he might sell a bit more often, he perhaps put 2 on the shelves so that he could build up the stock. When I started my first business, my first training business, I worked from an old desktop computer that I had as my own private computer while I was employed. And I only bought the higher spec laptop that I would need to go out on the road and to present from once I had confirmed my first piece of work. The phrase I use is travel light. So you've got to decide what investment you need to make that is really going to add value to the business, that you cannot not make at the outset, and save your money. Don't just spend loads and loads of money on the things you might need. Nice new toys make you feel like you've got a business, but they don't. They mean you've got a load of possibly debt. And then there's persevering and reviewing. At the start of the business, if you are confident about your plan, if you have thought it through carefully, then there will be a period of time when you cannot make things happen. You can't get that first sale, and you just need to persevere. But you should always be looking for feedback so that you have the basis to review things. And if that feedback suggests the product or the service or the marketing are wrong for the market, then you need to do a review. But when I left Deloitte and I set up my first training business, basically my days were spent writing research. So my morning would be spent making phone calls, but my afternoon would be spent researching companies that I could contact and writing letters to them. Typically I would write 20 to 30 letters a day, and they would go in the post, and then a week later the mornings would be spent phoning those 20 to 30 companies to try to get conversations. So every day was phone calls in the morning, letters in the afternoon. And it was about 6 months of that and building websites and stuff, basic admin stuff, before I was actually able to deliver my first piece of work, buy my computer, invoice my client. But because I'd gone through that process, I had a kind of pipeline of potentials which turned quite quickly into 2 other good clients. So I had 3 clients within about 7 to 8 months, but it took that time. Now, not every business takes that long, but be prepared. And the other thing is the funnel. Let's say 20 calls a day. Most of those calls were not interested. Most of those calls went nowhere, and I had to learn to view 19 rejections as the cost of the time cost and the emotional cost of getting a conversation with a potential client. And of course, not every one of those conversations is going to lead to work. Not everyone's going to lead to a long-term relationship, and some of those relationships are not always going to lead to work for various reasons. So you have to understand the nature of that funnel and get philosophical about it, and that's what persevering is all about. Building a business, once you've started it, moves more from planning to adapting. Cycles of adapting and growing the business, finding that your systems don't work as well as you'd hoped and adapting them, finding your products aren't quite what the market wants and adapting them, finding that your marketing is not as good as it can be and adapting it. And when you're creating new products, when you're thinking about your products and your services, it's partly about creating new products and new services, but it's also about marketing them, and it's also about adapting the products and services you have as well. And now it's about the saving, investing tension is about you're earning money. So how much of it goes to paying you? How much of it goes into investing in the business? This is when you can start buying new products. But again, you need to also save some of it for a rainy day. There will be periods as a business grows where you're not making money. One of the things, if you're going into a consulting style business, as a training business is, personal training, as a personal trainer, versus funneling sounds like the dating game. Yes, you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find a prince or princess that suits you. That's absolutely true. In fact, I've been using that phrase for a long time. When I was in the dating game, some of my friends thought it was quite funny that I referred to the dating game as frogging, because I'd be going out with a frog and hoping that I'd get to kiss them and find them to be a princess. Turns out my wife was a princess all along. So there we go. Anyway, yeah. So my initial business was a project manager. It was a training business. Now, the model was that I would sell some work. I would go to the client's site. I would train their people. And of course, the more successful you get at that, the more days you spent out of the office training, which means you can't be marketing. So what you get is this feast and famine thing of you get a glut of work, which is great because you've done all this work marketing it, and now you get a glut of work, which is great. It brings in loads of cash, but while you're doing that, you don't have the energy, unless you work really hard to schedule things, to be marketing, which means that you get through your glut of work and you suddenly realize you haven't got any work. You've got a period without any work. Now you can be marketing, but you've also not got the money coming in. So if you haven't saved, you've got that problem. Online businesses get over some of those problems, but not all of them. For example, YouTube is one of my main sources of income, but it's seasonal. Christmas and the summer, we're coming into the summer, which is a dip in revenue for my type of YouTube channel. Because people like you, quite rightly, think, have your holidays in the summer. The kind of winter seasonal period pretty much from the US Thanksgiving through to the end of January, over Christmas, New Year, that period, is a dip in my business because people quite often don't think to buy training or watch YouTube videos on a work topic. They start watching the YouTube videos on social and entertainment topics. That's fine. It's the way it is, but you have to learn that and manage your funds and your income and outgoings to match that. In your savings. And again, persevering and reviewing. Now, as you're building a business, don't persevere for so long. Schedule time, and this is hard to do, but schedule time for a strategic review of your business. I have 2 big strategic review times, interestingly, in the summer and over the Christmas period, when I will have a day to sit and think about where the business is, what I've learned, what things I want to be doing in the next half year or year. I tend to do a kind of yearly look forward in the Christmas New Year period, and a half yearly confirmation of what I'm going to do in the second half of the year over the summer. Usually July. Usually it's once my daughter's on holiday, school holidays, which kind of means that I can't be doing some of the things that I might be doing when she's at school, like recording videos. So think about that, but do build strategic reviews into your business cycle. So what are some of the things that people do? I've kind of mentioned them, but just think about it. If you look at the podcasts, monetized podcasts, selling learning materials, whether they're podcast learning, books, video learning, real life training, online training, consulting, copywriting. Some people write articles for pay. I do that. For a long time, projectmanager.com, I wrote articles for them for pay. Not huge amounts, but and now I'm writing for MPUG, which is the Microsoft Project Users Group website. So they get paid. I get occasional sponsored content on my website. I get sponsored videos on YouTube. Favreau, Interver, I did a video for them. Interver, who make risk management software, I did a video for them. I did a video for Walk Me, which is a digital adoption platform. I've done a video for Association of Project Management, and we'll do more for them, I hope. So once you've got a platform, and that's probably taking us towards the influencer bit in a minute, I think, you can start monetizing that platform. So if you want to become an influencer, what is the process? Well, there's kind of three stages, I reckon. And the first, wrong button there. First stage is to build a platform. Whether it's a website, whether it's use of social media. A lot of influencers, basically in our kind of space, are big on LinkedIn. They've got LinkedIn. It's Glenn Alleman, pretty much every day writes a lengthy, high-quality article about project management on LinkedIn. He does it, I think, as much as for the pleasure of being a thought leader in the community, as I don't know he's even monetized it in any way. But website, LinkedIn, Facebook or Facebook group can be platforms, but I don't find they work well for me. YouTube, some people use other platforms as well for their influencing. Once you've got a platform, and possibly maybe this should come before the platform, but you need a point of view. You need, if you go in, I'm probably one of the kind of lowest POV project management influencers. My videos tend to be, most of my content on YouTube tends to be fairly straight, fairly clear explanations of things people need to know rather than opinions. There are some, I don't do them as often now, there are some videos which are opinion based on the channel, and I enjoy doing them. They just don't perform as well. So that's not what what I'm known for. What the videos that perform best for me are straight, clear explanations of key concepts, like how to build a Gantt chart, how to build a work breakdown structure, how to do scope management. Those are the high performing videos for me. What is a work breakdown structure? What is a Gantt chart? Those are my two highest performing videos on YouTube. But how a point of view is what you think about the topic, how you approach it, how you deliver it. What content you do within your base area. And then once you've done that, you need a voice, a way of getting your ideas out there and getting heard, and a way of talking about things. And that takes practice. Now, I spent years as a project management trainer, or as a trainer, a management trainer, so I have a lot of experience standing up in front of audiences, and I took that training experience and became, here's another way of monetizing, another side gig, become a speaker, become so expert in things that people invite you to speak to conferences, speak to their organizations, to lunch and learns at their organizations. Initially, you'll often have to do that for no cost. Just recharge your expenses. But gradually, when people realize how good you are, they will start to be prepared to pay for you. And then you can kind of ramp it up. Early stage speakers can charge a small number of hundreds of pounds or dollars or euros or whatever. As you kind of move up and become more influential, you can start to command small numbers of thousands, or even potentially, big numbers of thousands. I'm not in the big numbers of thousands, but I haven't done very much speaking to live audiences in the last couple of years through choice. I turned down some really interesting opportunities for various reasons, and some very lucrative opportunities as well. But for the right money and the right opportunity, I still, get out of bed and go and speak to audiences, and it's one of the things I most enjoy doing. Funnily enough, when I started building online PM courses, it was because I'd found that what I was doing most of, which was training groups of around 12 to 20 people, that was where most of my income was coming from and where most of my time was spent. But what I most enjoyed. What I most enjoyed was the large audiences, the buzz of a large audience, a conference audience, or, excuse me, I'm just going to. My unmute button isn't working. I apologise. It worked to mute, but it didn't unmute. So I just went off on one. Thank you very much, Steak Sauce. First appearance on this. It turns out to be really useful. Thank you. So, no idea where you are, Steak Sauce, or what you do, but thank you very much. My mic was muted, and it was because the Stream Deck, which controls things, it turns out the mute function works, but the unmute function doesn't. That almost certainly is user error. I need to reset that. So what I was saying is I do still do conference speaking, but I tend not to travel as often. So I did turn down a really nice opportunity to travel to Greece for the PMI conference, all expenses paid. A fee for speaking and another fee for doing a workshop was offered, but it just wasn't right for me. The timing and the travel, and so. But if you're going to become an influencer, you don't just need to find your voice, have a point of view and a platform. You need to speak with authority. You need to have some real knowledge, some real experience and expertise to offer your audience. Secondly, you need to build a community. You can't be an influencer unless you have a community of people to influence, people who actually value what you have to say and the way you have to say it. And you are my community. Thank you very much. I couldn't possibly be an influencer unless you were there to at least be not susceptible to influence, but to value what I have to say enough to listen to it and to evaluate it fairly for yourselves, based on the fact that I say it's worth you evaluating. And that's all I do. I don't say you should buy Favreau, you should buy WalkMe, you should buy Risky Project, you should join the APM. I say you should evaluate them and see if they're right for you. But the other thing is you need integrity. I turned down, I would say, probably 3 or 4 paid sponsorship opportunities a week. I get probably about 2 or 3 a day now of queries, and when I send them my terms and conditions, most of them come back and say they can't meet those, but could they please, to which I say no. a lot of them just never come back because the terms and conditions are to them too onerous, and those terms and conditions are about whatever it is I promote has to serve my audience. That's fundamentally it. If you want me to promote something, it has to be good for my audience, which is a community of project managers who are at the early and mid stages of their careers. So if it's not of genuine interest and value to them, I'm not even going to have a conversation with you. And then people come back and what they think fits that description doesn't, but they're making serious offers. So most of the opportunities I get, I turn down, and I will continue to do that because I don't want to put any content into my videos or onto my website that I know what your situation is, and if I don't think that it could genuinely be of interest to you, or people, or some of you at least, then I'm not going to put it onto my site. So that's really all I had to say. Let me say the important part of preparing yourself to be an influencer, to start a business, to be promoted, to get a job is learning. And so just a reminder that school.onlinepmcourses.com has all my courses, all my products there. Please do take a look at it. If you can, I will put a link to that in the chat for you. All my courses is there. And I will also point out that there are a number of videos that are relevant. Let me just get... Oh, it's got out of the... Scary. Let me get rid of my face. So there are 6 videos I'm going to suggest. Good career, project manager. Is project manager a good career? Star format for behavioural interviews. How to check your project management. How to crack your project management job interview. Is your project management career on track? What's the next stage in your project management career? And coming soon, ITM, project management career, with Adriana Marshall. Very inspiring project manager from the US, who is a Scrum Master, has done IT project management and is a Scrum Master, and has some really good information that's coming soon, but I can't remember when. So I'm going to kind of wrap it all up now, I think. Let's just go to the last slide and pop me on. So next time is the 4th of July, which I imagine means I won't be getting very many Americans. I might think about shifting that date, actually, because it's not a good date for the American, United States of Americans. Because yes, Canadians are Americans too, in a way, as are Hondurans and anyone in South America. They're all Americans, but USA citizens. Yeah, I think I might shift that. I also haven't yet got any ideas. So if anyone has a topic you want me to cover, please do. Put it into the comments, either into the chat here or into the comments if you're watching this on replay, or email me if you're a member of my community and you subscribe to the newsletter, which I hope you will do. Then you'll be able to reply to that newsletter and email me. If you don't subscribe to the newsletter, I should give you a link to that. Let me just do that. You can subscribe to the newsletter by clicking this link. It comes out weekly on Thursdays, and most of the time I talk about project management topics and sometimes offer a promotion for my stuff or for other stuff I think is of value to you. When you first subscribe, you get a series of pre-programmed ones, and then you get the regular weekly ones. We're at half past the hour, so we've been going for 90 minutes. I've kind of hit the timing almost spot on. So if anyone has any questions, please do ask them. But if you don't, you are excused. And I see a few people have dropped away. Thank you very much for attending. I've really enjoyed sharing my ideas with you, and I hope they have been of value. And I look forward to seeing you in July. It may be the 4th or it may be the 11th. I haven't decided. I will decide. I'm thinking now probably it's going to be the 11th. See you in July. Oh, by the way, there might be an impromptu one next Tuesday, if I've got things I want to talk about from APM conference. So, goodbye to all of you. I'll hang around for a little bit on the chat for a moment, but otherwise, have a really good summer and take good care of yourselves.